What's up, everybody? Welcome in to a winning edition of SSPN, Ethan. The Spurs win 131 to 121 over the Washington Wizards. And as much as this is a double-digit win, uh, I almost feel less good about this one, Ethan, than the 1-point win that we had in De'Aaron Fox's first game last Wednesday against the Atlanta Hawks. What were your overall thoughts on this one?
Wait, I'm sorry. Did you say you feel less good about this one?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, me too, Jude. We did not really deserve to win this game. To me, this feels like we only won because we just have better players. But really,
Mhm.
we got beat in almost every category. It feels like I think rebounding wise ended up being even, but as far as tempo and points off second chance opportunities and just you know taking advantage of opportunities as they came to them, the Wizards played a better game than we did. We got to the free throw line 10 times more. That definitely helped. And we had three guys play very well, two of them being Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox, and the third one being Stephon Castle. But otherwise, it was a pretty bleak game that we tried to give away multiple times. I think we led up a 21 to something, 21 to 3 run to the Wizards in that second quarter. And then the third quarter, and honestly, most of the fourth quarter was way too competitive and way too close for my liking, especially when the Wizards are 9-44 and don't even have Chris Middleton and Marcus Smart, who they traded for at the deadline. They're like,
Or Alex Sarr.
or Alexandre Sarr, yes, excuse me, the second overall pick. They didn't even have him. And it was a team effort from them. I think every player had double digit points for the Washington Wizards, and so it really just came down to defense, stupid mistakes, and not playing 100% effort for an entire 48 minutes.
Yeah, as I open this one up, as much as this was a double-digit win, like I said, in comparison to the other win that the Spurs have had on the rodeo road trip, even though that one against the Hawks was by just 1 point, I felt better about that one than I
For
did about
sure.
this one. And it's because of a lot of the points that you hit on. Not only did we start out how we should have treated this team, like the beginning of this game, even though the first quarter was only a 10-point victory, it really should have been at least like a 15,
For
maybe even a
sure.
20-point victory because of that 25-2 run that the Spurs went on to open the game. I believe 4 threes from Victor Wembanyama
Yep.
in the first quarter. I mean, just going totally ballistic. And it's the same story, Ethan. I hate to come on here for all of you guys watching who are diehard Spurs fans. As much as obviously there is an element that De'Aaron Fox brings. Like if we don't have De'Aaron Fox tonight, this is a game that maybe we lose by double digits if
Yeah.
we don't have him tonight. So obviously him coming in is making a huge impact, but at the same time, stupid, silly mistakes on offense, which lead to turnovers, as well as a lack of consistency intensity wise on defense is continuing to show up. And that was something that De'Aaron Fox talked about in that first game. At the end of that, not to go back to that Hawks game, but at the end of that second quarter, when we were really putting a ton of ball pressure, playing with a ton of energy, a ton of intensity on defense, that's when we're playing at our best. And you
Yeah.
saw that again at the start of the first quarter, as much as some of it was just Wemby being insane, and that was what was making the plays. After that, you saw, letting the foot off a gas a little bit, letting up on the ball pressure. The intensity wasn't as intense as it was to open the game. And lo and behold, it ends up only being a 10-point win in this quarter. And that continues to kind of, what's the word I'm trying to use? That bled in to the second quarter, which we lost 33-26, where that momentum that they had at the end of the quarter, they really just rode it into halftime.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that momentum from the Wizards just caused us to make a bunch of stupid mistakes as well. Some of the dumbest passes I've ever seen. Some really poor rotations as well. And something that PJ, say his last name for me, Jude, the color comment,
Carlissimo.
Carlissimo said, I think in the third or fourth quarter, he said, you can win offensively, but you control the game defensively. And we have not figured that out. We
Mm-hmm.
won this game because De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama were extremely explosive, and De'Aaron Fox got to the free throw line 18 times alone. But without those two guys and their efforts, this is definitely a blowout win in favor of the Wizards.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I want to give a shout out to Jeremy and Stefan as well on the bench.
For sure.
General Eli is in the comments talking about Jeremy. He says, great play from Sochan. He was huge in maintaining and taking the lead, especially late in that second half. Him and Stefan as well were kind of able to stop the bleeding at points.
Hmm.
And even though there were times in that second half where we were going shot for shot, if we weren't able to get an isolation bucket from them, that could have led to a Wizards run, which then could have put us in more trouble. So it really was Victor and De'Aaron for the starters. And then off the bench, it was Jeremy and Stefan. And really, it wasn't a lot of crisp offense tonight on either side, but especially for the Spurs. And I really feel like, as much as, we don't like to oversimplify things and say, hey, just look at the box score and this will tell you the story. This box score, you kind of can look at the two guys in double digits I guess there's three guys in double digits technically in the starting lineup, but look at the two highest scorers on the bench and in the starting lineup. And those were the guys who really kept us in the game tonight, because if we don't have the scoring from them, our defense wasn't going to get the stops. And that's the main thing for me, Ethan, is now we're 4 games into this De'Aaron Fox era. We've only done one post game. We haven't been back since the 2 losses this weekend. And we got to see a little bit of those. I didn't get to watch Saturday's game full through. I score watched, but I did watch Friday's game full through. And I saw some highlights on Saturday as well. And again, man, it just feels like team defense is the biggest issue overall. Like offensively still, even tonight, despite, there being turnovers and, a lack of ball movement at times, we still scored 131 points. And some of that might be the Wizards, being as bad as they are, just to be blunt. But also, I think like we're doing some good things offensively. It's just defense is the biggest issue for us.
100%. It's been the same horrible defense in these last 3 games that we won this one, but we lost the 2 before. Offensively, I have no real criticisms other than the occasional stagnation.
Right.
But I really think that's just a symptom of the poor defense. Honestly, if we fix that, then the offensive stagnation will fix itself as well. Because to me, it's a matter of frustration and guys trying to take it on themselves individually to kind of make that difference and spark something in favor of the Spurs when we lost the momentum to the Wizards in the end of the first quarter. But I also think it all stems to the fact that we do not have a true backup big. I think we can finally say
Yes.
with conclusion, Jude, Sandro Mamukelashvili, I love him to death. He is a 4, and he should get spot minutes when we need some energy. Somebody to just lace some threes and have 8 minutes a game, maybe, and kind of get us back into a game. But I don't think he is, a meaningful rotational player moving forward. I would rather give Bismack Biyombo, a chance here. I know he's new. I know he hasn't had a lot of time, but he's 32 years old. He knows the ins and outs of
He's on a
NBA
10-day
world.
contract.
Yeah,
I'm
you
sorry
only
to
got him
interrupt
for
you,
10
Ethan.
days.
But
Yeah.
exactly.
He only got it for 10 days. Might as well throw him out there and see what he has, because Richaun Holmes, there's no point, or there's no reason Richaun Holmes should be destroying us on the inside like that, Jude. And I don't think
Dude.
Bismack Biyombo
Well,
is going to
and
get 10 and
Tristan
10.
Vukcevic. Again, sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt you, but
No,
when
you're
both
good.
of those guys have 14 plus, what does that tell you?
Exactly. And do I think he's going to turn into prime Dwight Howard or prime Shaq?
Uh-huh.
Absolutely not. But is he going to
He had
be a
18.
bigger, more physical presence down low, get some extra possessions, or deny them a couple extra possessions? Absolutely, he could do that at bare minimum. So I think I need to see some minutes from Bismack on Wednesday, Jude, without question.
I was expecting them tonight.
Me too.
I jokingly sent a message to one of the group chats that I'm in that are basically all Spurs fans, and I said Bismack legacy tonight?
I
Question
thought
mark.
so.
That was at like 4:30, and we didn't even get to see him. And the same issues persisted. Let me see what the rebound advantage was tonight. I don't even care if we ended up winning it. We did tonight. Somehow we won 43-42. But I'm gonna go back a little bit, Ethan, because all of the Spurs fans know that the backup center is the biggest issue. And if we go back to this Magic game, let's go ahead and look at the rebounding numbers here. Okay, 34-45. And if you go to the team stats in this game, let's go to the offensive rebounding. Where's that at? 13-4. That's the biggest issue. Look at the end of the game, Ethan, where the Wizards got like 4 straight shots that they all missed because it was all offensive rebounds. And finally, Wemby got one. And I'm not even blaming him for not getting it because he's so gassed because he has to work so hard on the boards all game that at that point, like somebody else has got to go in there and do it. And that's why we harped on Sochan, kind of in the second half, playing a little bit better on the boards and being able to impact that. But again, it shouldn't be all on him, especially when we have, somebody like Bismack Biyombo that we just signed, where literally his entire job is to just go out there and rebound, Ethan. But here's another thing. It's not just that. 38 in this Hornets game to 53. Moussa Diabate, Mamadi Diakite's long-lost cousin, got 15 boards against us.
He just got a contract.
On Friday night, okay? And on top of that, Taj Gibson, I know that it doesn't jump out on the score, the box score right here, Ethan, but I'm telling you, if you watch this game on freaking Friday night, Taj Gibson was, he only had 4 boards, but he was making room for other boards from guys like Salon and Seth Curry. Like, Seth Curry doesn't get 4 boards. The point I'm making is, sorry to go on this long rant, Ethan, but like, why do we not play him when this is obviously the issue? And then we sign him, obviously, because we have an issue at the backup center position.
For sure. I can't defend the decision, honestly. And you didn't point it out, Jude, but if you looked at the team stats in that first, who was the Saturday game? Or 2 games ago. The Magic game, excuse me.
Yeah.
The Magic game. Points in the paint was like 53 to like 29 or something like that in favor of the Orlando Magic. So it's more than just rebounds. It's those second chance points. It's getting those easy baskets inside.
Look at that tonight.
Killing us. Yeah. 56 to, was that 46?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in favor of Washington. And when you have a guy like Victor Wembanyama who's 7'4", it's easy to point at him and say he needs to get his butt in the paint. And sure, you can make that criticism, but it would be a hell of a lot more helpful if we just got a 7-footer out there that was only job, Jude, was to get rebounds and stay inside and just be a physical presence, because we don't have that right now, especially when the bench unit comes in. Center Jeremy is not the solution. Center Mamu is not the solution. And Bassey's hurt, and we traded Zach Collins. So Bismack's the only other option we have, Jude.
Yeah. I just don't know. Like, I understand Bassey's hurt. So, like, if your reasoning is, we didn't play him tonight because, we just signed him because Bassey got hurt. Like, I mean, obviously, I personally disagree with that. Like, I think we got to be playing one of those guys at this point. But it's like, why'd you even sign him?
Exactly.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, they're like, it's just a contingency. Like, if Victor gets hurt or something. Well, that's just, we shouldn't be operating at that point. And you know me, Ethan, like, we're the first people to be like, hey, we give the Spurs their credit. We trust their judgment. We say, hey, like, they have the success for as long as they have. Like, we're just podcasters here. But on that one, Ethan, I'm going to sit here and be like, I don't get the logic there.
Well, this one's just so basic, it feels like. What's our biggest problem? You just pointed it out. It's a number. It's not even like something up for debate. Like, we can't get rebounds, second extra possessions, and points in the paint, and we're not playing our only other big. It doesn't make any sense to me. And if your argument is like he's not a long-term solution, so we're just kind of keeping him around to be like a veteran, like, okay, he's only here for 10 days. Go get Mo Bamba. Like, even if he's not the long-term solution, at least he fits the profile, I guess, better than Bismack. Sign somebody you're willing to play is all I'm saying.
Yeah, and like, we have an open roster spot. You know what I mean? So like, it's just going to be empty regardless. And in years past, like with Mamu and Julian and Charles Bassey for that matter, like, we got those guys. 2 of them were 2-ways, but I think one of those we ended up converting to a standard contract, and that was how we got them. So like, we've done this in years past with guys that have turned into rotation players. I don't get why we won't sign Mo Bamba. Maybe if it's something that has to do with, like, off the court stuff, because we know how much the Spurs care about that.
Yeah.
Okay, but Daniel Theis is still out there. Like, we've got options. Like, I don't get it. Anyways,
and I'm fine with just Bismack, for the record. Like, I'd be totally fine with just him. But yeah, regardless, offensively, I'm not worried. De'Aaron Fox played well. I think it fits well. It's just a lot of defensive issues, Jude, and the size thing for me.
Yeah. I mean, when I look at just we've seen 4 games now with
Yeah.
these guys. Obviously, there are, not to just always bring up the caveats or the context or to make excuses, but it is going to take some time for these guys to gel. So like some offensive things, like where the ball's stopping, or guys, like De'Aaron thought somebody was in a different place and they're in a different one, like that's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, like when you have the thing that stands out to me, and this is what you texted me about, not to go back to the beginning of the game, and maybe this is just part of a young team growing and learning into winning and becoming consistent. But just the stark contrast from the start of the game, how good we looked,
Yeah.
to just like I texted you, it was like there's no in between. There's no like middle ground. It's just either really, really good or really, really bad. Like that's the thing that's kind of fascinating me watching this game, or watching this team, and how it can just flip like that. And I think that might just be, again, like a maturity thing. That I
Mhm.
guess that's my best like kind of diagnosis.
Yeah, I
Um,
guess.
but it's pretty wild to like watch like that stark contrast, just from one time out
Mhm.
to the next.
I can't wait for the day, Jude, when we can just, we lose a game and we come on here and we go, oh, we just didn't shoot well,
Right.
or oh, the other team just played a lot better, and it's as simple as that. But the inconsistency that's so baffling from game to game, like at least with De'Aaron, we know so far through 4 games he's been pretty consistent, as far as what he brings to the team. Um, Poor Devin Vassell. Can we please not stop tweeting about his statistics? Because was it the last 4 or 5 games he's been like the most efficient player we've had offensively,
This was a
and
bad
people,
game from him, though.
yeah, people were like, "Oh, De'Aaron is unlocking Devin," and as soon as that tweet dropped, Devin had 2 of 9 tonight, 2 of 8 from three. And this was my biggest criticism before we traded for De'Aaron. Remember, Jude? I said I need Devin to shoot twice as many twos as he does threes. And tonight he shot 1 2-pointer and 8 threes. Bro, they're not falling. Get
Yeah.
it, get in the paint. Like you have a mid-range
Get a
game, you have a
mid-range
bag.
jumper.
Um, but and if you want to say De'Aaron's taking those shots, like sure, he's still Devin Vassell. Like he has to be somewhat aggressive to getting to his spots if that's what it requires for him to shoot better from 3-point land. Um, but yeah, it's infuriating.
Yeah, this is, as we talked about in that last Wednesday game, how you and I, for the past couple years here, we've had a lot of asterisks and
Hmm.
context. Tonight is a night. Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson have got to execute more. They've got to play better. Straight up. They're getting paid too
Yeah.
much. I love them to death. I want them both to be 20-point per game guys. Like, I want to come on here and be like, look at how good Devin Vassell and Keldon are playing. But that's not the case. And tonight, if we would have gotten some consistency, even if we just get double digits from both of
Yeah.
those guys tonight, nothing crazy. That also makes this game just a lot more smooth. Even if the defensive issues are still there. So
Yeah.
definitely need to see more from them moving forward as well.
I guess just so we can give them a little bit more praise, Stephon Castle and Jeremy did play
Yes.
well, and I think that that's true on both ends of the court, offensively and defensively. Stephon, if he continues to be this physical, aggressive scorer, getting to the rim, then his ceiling is a lot higher than even I thought when we had drafted him. Jude, 16 points, 3 steals, being a really good defender as per usual, and opening up as a 3-point shooter. He looks more and more confident with each game. And what's crazy is it's
Yeah.
not just catch and shoot threes like in the corner
Yeah.
wide open. Like these are tough shots, off the dribble, coming off screens,
That pull up
contested.
on the right wing.
He's looking more and more like the real deal, and the guy that a lot of people had number one on their draft board last offseason. And then Jeremy, of course, 6 of 7, hit the 1 3 that he took, hit the 1 free throw that he took. Very under control game.
Yeah.
I remember thinking kind of at halftime, like we don't have anyone that can cut to the rim right now. Like nobody's making off ball movements to create offense for themselves. And then Jeremy was able to do that in that second half, got a couple like 1 and 1 play that was pretty
Hmm.
big,
Hmm.
and helped push the momentum.
Yeah, I didn't even realize this tonight, but it makes sense because he was putting a lot of ball pressure on the ball handlers tonight, even early in the game, as well as later. But 3 steals for Jeremy tonight as well, on top of efficient shooting, and that 1 3 that was actually huge to win us the third quarter there.
Yeah.
Um, 34-33. As much as it was just 1 point before that happened, it was not looking good. Or actually, no. Excuse me. That Jeremy 3, was that at the end of the first quarter?
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
I think it was. Because it put us up 10. So I'm pretty sure it was 37-30 when that happened. Anyways, y'all can correct me in the comments, but that was a timely 3, the one that Jeremy made. That's all. That's the main point I was trying to get at.
It was a pretty shot too. It was a seamless, no hesitation 3, which I like to see from him.
Yeah. M_DLG says, all I know is Castle needs to be on the floor at the end of games. I completely agree. People were talking about this earlier, talking about an idea that you mentioned a couple lives ago, Ethan, of maybe moving Devin Vasell to the bench and moving Stephon Castle to the starting lineup. And that's what Wizard 8000 says here. He says, I agree, except I would put Castle over Vasell in the starting lineup. And he was referencing MEZ's comment here, who said the starting lineup should be De'Aaron Fox, Vasell, Barnes, Sochan, and Wemby. It's time for CP3 to be the backup PG. And he says if he bucks to waive him. And the point that I'm trying to get at is I'm definitely open for Castle being in the starting lineup. I'm also open to Chris Paul coming off the bench. And I'm definitely open to playing Bismack Biyombo.
I am too.
But other rotations, I'm here for. And if, I know this is just one game after Devin had 2 straight games where he scored 20 plus, but with what we've seen from Stephon, I think Stephon's going to be good regardless. Maybe Devin coming off the bench would give us a little bit more juice there. But I mean, Stephon is giving us juice right now, but maybe that could open some things up. But I also don't want to overreact too much to one game when, like we said, the 3 games prior to this were not as bad as this one.
Yeah, as you know, I'm a fan of putting Devin Vasell on the bench. I know he did play really well the last couple games that we did lose prior to this one, but to me, even now, currently constructed, I think Stephon Castle is impacting positive ways more so than Devin.
Yeah, well, that's just inarguable right now.
I feel more comfortable when he's out there than Devin Vasell. I mean, I think they can play together. I'm not saying start both of them, but I think they are capable of playing together for sure. And I would like to see Jeremy Sochan reinsert himself into the starting lineup. Only reason I don't necessarily want him off the bench is he's not like he's playing well, but I guess it's a spacing concern why we took him out of the starting lineup in favor of Harrison Barnes. But he's not like a scorer. So for him to be like the 6th man, he's really just a Swiss Army knife for less talented offensive players. And then he's also getting beat up more because he's not exactly a center.
Dude,
so
we're just throwing Jeremy out there like it's like a baby that hasn't learned how to swim and you're just throwing him in the pool. Like that's how I feel about what we're doing to Jeremy right now. Like I know his game, does kind of what's the adjective I'm looking for? It fits, you know what I mean? Like at the beginning of the season when he was going off and getting, 17 and 15 games. He was crashing the boards. Like he isn't around the rim Dennis Rodman type of guy, but there's only so much he can do when he's 6'8" and they've got 5 inches on him, like.
Yeah, I also think he plays really, really well off of Victor. Like he is the perfect complementary 4 to Victor's 5. And Harrison's great too. Like I wouldn't necessarily mind rolling a De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Harrison Barnes, Jeremy Sochan, and Victor Wembanyama lineup out there. I know that puts Chris Paul on the bench. It also puts Devin on the bench. But to me, that just sounds better. It feels like it would flow better, both offensively and defensively. I know it doesn't solve the backup center issue, but still.
Again, we do have Bismack Biyombo. We can play him.
I would be more than willing to play him at this point.
I'm just like, I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, I know, like, I'm not sitting here saying like Bismack Biyombo, man. Like we're gonna win a championship with him. Like that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just like, I think he's gonna help us get more rebounds, be more physical in the paint, so that it's not just an obvious rebounding and point in the paints deficit every single game, which as much as you and I like to sit here and be like, hey, let's watch the games. You don't have to look at the box, the stats aren't everything. That is, like you said, that is a number that at the end of the day, affects the score, which determines the win or the loss. So I feel like I've been sitting here for 25 minutes ranting about how the Spurs need a backup center, but I feel like that's the main takeaway from this game too. Because if if we have a backup center and we win more of the rebounding battles and there's not as many points in the paint, we probably win this game by at least 20. And I think that's a conservative statement.
I think that's a conservative statement too. Darn it, Jude! I lost my train of thought. I was gonna compliment what you said, but I forget what I was gonna say.
We were just talking about the backup center position for the most part.
Oh, I remember now.
Go ahead.
That was like probably the first time that like someone's like actually gotten like a good hint to make me remember something. At this point, let's go give Dwight Howard a shot.
That group chat I was referencing earlier, that's been mentioned in there.
I would welcome Dwight to the San Antonio Spurs for sure.
Yes, I do. Michael Hunt makes a good point, though. He says, "At fellas, Jeremy's physicality always plays tough, though. He gives so much utility. 100%. He's just, like I said earlier, it's just the position that he's being put in. He's doing his best, and without him tonight, we don't win, in my opinion.
For sure."
MEZ says CP3 came off the bench for Golden State last year and really solidified their second unit running the team before he got hurt. 100%. When I made my reaction to the De'Aaron Fox trade, my initial rotation prediction had CP3 coming off the bench.
Same here.
I don't hate him in the starting lineup, but I would prefer that.
I'd prefer not having 2 point guards out there for sure.
Yeah. The reason I don't hate it is because both of them can shoot a little bit. So I know tonight they didn't have the best numbers, but y'all get what I'm saying. Like they're not. Both of them are decent shooters, or above average at times. Decent is a little bit. That might be. I was just throwing out words there without really thinking about it. Both above average shooters. But I'm with you, man. I'd rather move Chris Paul to the bench, move Stephon up to the starting lineup. And I think honestly, I'd rather have Harrison Barnes come off the bench too, just because of the point that you made about the way that Jeremy plays off of Victor. Now, I do like the shooting aspect that Harrison brings in, but under this scenario that we're talking about right now with CP3 coming off the bench with Harrison, I'd also have Bismack Biyombo there. So
in 2015, this would be scary.
So I know what in the starting lineup, that would be, I guess you'd still have Vasell out there. Yeah.
De'Aaron, Steph, Devin.
So you'd have Wemby, De'Aaron, and Devin. So you'd still have shooting out there with Stephon and Jeremy. And like you said too, I know it's only 2 for 3 tonight, but I really think Stephon's jumper is coming along. I think we've seen that in a couple games, and I think the ceiling for his jumper over like the past 2 weeks, for me, in my personal view, has been raised.
For sure, I would agree with that.
But I also think this is a good point here. DA says Barnes should start. He's playing well. He did just have 16 points in 1 quarter. I know he didn't score for the rest of the game, but he's a champion. He's a veteran for a reason. And obviously, Jeremy definitely has his benefits off the bench as well. I'm not opposed to that. I think that the bigger thing that I would want would be Chris Paul off the bench and Stephon in the starting lineup versus Harrison versus Jeremy.
I can co-sign that one.
But again, Ethan, not to repeat myself, the biggest thing out of all of it is I just want to play Bismack Biyombo.
I think that can be the conclusion. Is conclusionary a word?
I think maybe a little part of me might think so, but it might just
be... It is. Conclusionary statement.
Yes. Ethan and Jude of SSPN would like the Spurs to play the backup center they just signed.
Agreed.
Any other little things throughout this game that you can think of moving forward for the Spurs, Ethan?
No, man. I think we have some serious reflection to do in terms of rotations and meaningful minutes. Otherwise, we're gonna continue on this course if we do not.
Completely agree. I wish I had more diagnoses, but again, I think a lot of the offensive issues, like you said, kind of go back to team defense. So, and some of that has to do with rotations and who we're playing. So we got to address that.
Aligned.
100%. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight. We truly do. If you enjoyed the content, be sure to hit that like and that subscribe button below. And if you want to stay updated with the show, follow us on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at SSPN on YT, at Jude McLaren, and at Ethan_Quintero. Tell us your thoughts on what you think the Spurs can do to get better, what you think their rotation should be moving forward, and also give us your keys to the game for Wednesday's game against the Boston Celtics, because it's not about to get easier, Ethan. We somehow got a win tonight. Yeah, we didn't even get into that, bro. But we'll still wrap this up, but we will be back on Wednesday, and man, the Spurs have a test for that one. And of course, as we always say, Ethan, we love the Spurs. Any of these criticisms that we've made, we understand we're just guys here podcasting. These guys could school us on a lot of basketball stuff. But man, we really want to see the Spurs get some wins together and start getting some more cohesion going after this De'Aaron Fox trade. But we'll see y'all Wednesday. Go Spurs, go. Catch y'all later.